Happy Thursday morning. I'm so glad that you're here hanging out with us today and really, really excited to be kicking off a new series. So if you've been with us for a while, you know that back in the day when I first started, we did a series called Meet the Pros, and we talked with all kinds of marketing and video experts that were Ecamm users and had them answer all your questions and walk through all of the various setups, and it was a great time. And it's been kind of a retired show for the last year or so, and we thought a really fun way to bring it back but make it a little bit more inclusive was to launch this new series that we're calling Meet the Fam. And what this is going to do is introduce you to customers that are in all different kinds of industries. So these folks may not be marketing professionals, they may be small business owners or educators, they might be professionals like lawyers and accountants and real estate agents, but it'll give you guys all a chance to see what their setup looks like, ask a bunch of questions. I'm gonna ask a bunch of questions and we will follow along. So hopefully you have your coffee or drink in hand and notebook so that you can all learn something new. Really excited to be here today with Maury. Hi, Maury.
Hello, Katie. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely no problem. It's so exciting to be. You're our first official guest for our new series. So yay!
Well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but as soon as you just took the word pros out of the program, you invited me. So I don't know if that's perfect or not, but I couldn't get into Meet the Pros, so I'm glad to be Meet the Fam.
Well, hey now, I mean, like pros, you went from being potentially a pro to part of the family. I mean, really, I don't think it's a downgrade.
I would agree. I love my family, and thank you for letting me be part of yours.
Absolutely. So I'm excited because I think that the goal of this show and why I love that you're here with us today is that we have all these different members and they're doing all kinds of different things with Ecamm and with video in general. And you are like the perfect kind of first guest to dive into this because you already off the bat were like, I hope that you have musicians mode ready to go because I'm ready to rock here. So I think maybe even just talking through some of the challenges or kind of thinking through and approaching creating video and live streaming as a musician, how you kind of dove into that and what you originally, what you had to work your way through. But before we dive into that, I totally need for you to give us a little bit of background on who you are and what you do, because I know some people know you. We've had you on a couple different things before, but some people may not know you. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, and then we can dive into how you get started.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you very much for creating this series. It's going to be really fun going forward. I'm going to watch everything I can. So by no means is this the end. This is the beginning of something really cool. And I think you guys are really forward thinking to have something like this on your YouTube and on your Facebook, because when I get done being in the first episode, I'm going to watch the rest of them as a contributor and somebody who wants to. I mean, I'm just 4 hours ago, I was learning something more from Doc Rock and Aaron Short, and it's I'm an Ecamm student lifelong. So thank you for what you do. My name is Maury Rutch. My wife and I and my brother, we own Maury's Music Inc. It's a Martin guitar dealer. We're a little small guitar shop that really specializes in Martin guitars and Blueridge guitars, and we've been really internet heavy ever since we started in 2003. It didn't take us long to learn that we should devote more time to the online way we work than the brick and mortar. We do both, but the online is just so much more fruitful for us. So we've tried to adopt everything that comes along, not chasing fads or trying to stay ahead of people, but as soon as something looks like it's a way to gain traction on the internet in general, we have the attitude like, let's try to do that, and if it doesn't work, we'll move on. But we don't like to have the attitude that nobody's going to be live streaming a year from now. As soon as people go back to work, this is going to be over.
That's a fad.
No, I mean, and I joke with my wife. I said, I wonder if Ecamm sells stock, because these guys are going to jump and jump and jump and jump so fast. So we'll talk about that off camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Not that I have anything to invest, but we're basically a small mom and pop store that does musical instruments online and really tries to leverage everything we can to be on Facebook and YouTube as a blanket statement. Pair that with what you guys do. As soon as I realized that trying to live stream with an iPhone or a webcam was something to do, it was less than a week later when I found out about Ecamm from Diana Gladney.
Yay,
it was immediately I recognized that, well, that's what you get to change from looking like I would like to try this to I know how to do this. And I don't want to talk in circles or ramble too far at the beginning, but basically we're a music store that wants to be relevant online. Whether it's live streaming or recording to the computer and not going live, Ecamm has completely changed the way we can do that. It gave me confidence, most likely 10 times faster than I would have gained it by learning other software, and by everything we do, we're trying with grassroots, and we're trying to be a sponge. But it was a little bit funny. As soon as we got Ecamm, most of those hurdles just got so accelerated. And before I was doing my fourth stream, no lie, I knew I didn't know everything, but I was confident that I might look like I know a lot more because it allows you to just look a certain way, and I'm knocked over. I really am.
I love that. I love it gives you the confidence to be able to fake it till you make it, right? I think that is super helpful, especially for people who traditionally, have not been in the world of video or photography or, any kind of understanding of all of those different elements. I think live streaming kind of levels the playing field in some way, and certainly software like this gives everyone the opportunity to really look their best and then be able to learn and grow as you're live and as you're working your way through it. So that's great.
Exactly.
That's great to hear. That's totally me too. I came from the background of like, I don't know, I don't really like seeing myself on camera. I used to hate being on video, and every single little upgrade that we made, or every single time where we went with a different camera or kind of made those little changes to how we laid things out, or even graphics, just gave me more confidence. And now it's just really fun. Now we have a full studio background, and it feels like a safe space, and then it really lets you connect with people across a number of different places, and in a number of different ways, which is just really amazing.
Sure. I can't picture you not being on camera, so it's funny to hear that. As much as if we could be honest and transparent, we've probably exchanged 10 emails in a year and a half, and I don't know you, but I just see the emails exchanges and the way you interact on the forums, and I just have it in my mind, well, that's a marketing professional and an Ecamm professional, and I don't ever give thought to, is this just started for her, or has she been, I didn't know.
Yeah, I've been in marketing for my entire career, but I definitely was never a video person. It was always kind of like, I know we should add live video in, but maybe we'll get to that eventually. Or similar to many of you watching, it felt scary and daunting and expensive and hard to kind of figure it all out. And then when I joined the team at Ecamm, I had the marketing background, but kind of had to build my level of confidence in being out in front of everyone and answering questions and testing and playing with it all. So I feel everyone's kind of fear on getting started for the first time, but it is amazing the difference it makes once you give it a try, and how relevant it is for almost every single kind of industry. I think the pandemic taught us that pretty quickly, that it wasn't just marketing professionals that were using video. It was musicians, right. It was magicians, it was educators, churches, every single industry saw an opportunity to get in front of their people.
Yeah, you're so right. And I don't want to take a tangent, but maybe 6 or 7 months ago, somebody in the community made a point that this stuff looks better than a lot of, you remember when the news stations had to do stuff from home?
Yeah.
There are people that work for the NBCs of the world. It looked like trash. And I'm not saying content, because content's still the most important, but it was a little bit funny how some of us, that I don't want to lump myself into the wrong group, but some of the people on the Ecamm forums that are learning as we go with this stuff immediately look better than some people that should, maybe should is the wrong word, but you would think they should have the team that follows them in their studio should give them something to use at home, and it wasn't par for the course.
Yeah, I just think that comes down to the fact that those folks are used to having an entire team, right? So they're used to going into a place, they have their makeup team, their camera equipment, they're they're the group to help them get up and running, whereas almost all Ecamm users have learned by starting. Many of you are all individual contributors or solopreneurs, or you're setting it up in your homes or on the go. And so, yeah, you haven't had the luxury of having like a full team to make it all look great. And you figured out that you can do it with just, a software and being able to set stuff up on your own. So yeah, it shows. I would definitely agree with that. So I want to start with kind of thinking through as you were getting started and you were like, okay, I want to be able to play around with video. Okay, I don't want to just do this on my phone. I want to be able to have a little bit more professionalism and flexibility. What kind of content are you creating, or what's been your journey as far as video goes? What did you start with? Where are you sitting at now?
Well, the very, very beginning, if I'm being real, I went to school in Philadelphia for video and audio back in the early
awesome.
90s. And so I came away from my college years wanting to do something with either video, film, or radio, or audio recording, and that's been like in me since then. So fast forward, we've gone through a couple of different jobs. Once I ended up convincing my wife that we need to open a music store, which was another episode altogether, we realized that really quickly being able to take pictures and videos of products is going to finally come in handy. Mm-hmm. And that was 2003 when we started. And it's a little bit funny to think now, but it might have been 2006 or 2007. We began taking video clips. Instead of just pictures of a guitar that I want to sell, we'd record it on video. And I remember asking our webmaster, this YouTube thing, and I'm probably naming the wrong year, but this YouTube thing, should I put my videos on my website and on YouTube? And he said to me, it couldn't hurt. And I thought, it's extra work, but I'll try. And I didn't really cultivate a really big YouTube channel when I first could have. Thank God I didn't skip it altogether. But realizing, fast forward to maybe several years ago, we began filling our YouTube channel with as many videos as we could for either this specific guitar that you're going to buy or this model. And we'll carry this model all the time, and you won't be buying the one you see in my lap, but we have this for sale, blah, blah, blah. Really coming together with right when the lockdown happened. I had already been dedicated to, I'm not sure if our viewers know who Spoon Phillips is, but if you've watched my YouTube channel, he's a professional player from New York City who I got to meet way back in 2001. He would come in on a weekend sometime and record 25 or 30 demo videos, and we'd flood our YouTube channel with that, and he'd go back home, and we'd do that every so many months, or at least every time NAMM came around, which is a big trade show. So we've already been in the mindset, once we get new guitars in here, we have to get Spoon to come in, do the professional demo video, and get it up there. And the pandemic caused that to stop because we couldn't bring Spoon in here from the city. So it was just me, and I'm really, really confident in connecting somebody with the right guitar the first time, but I'm not the best talker. This is a little bit of a miracle that I'm this far with you. But this isn't my wheelhouse to sit in front of. My legs are shaking more than my hands, but this isn't me. I can play guitar and demonstrate this guitar completely professionally, but I don't want to talk about it, and I don't have that personality where I could just hit record, and after 5 minutes, well, I've just really talked about this guitar in a very casual way, and now you know a lot about it. It's an hour and a half of tripping over my words. So multiply that by now a lot of people are going live. Well, now I have to do it without being able to stop and start, and I just did it there. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a trial by fire where at the same time that I discovered Ecamm, I think it'll be one of those stories we tell the wrong way, I turned Aaron Short onto that, and he thinks he turned me onto it. But
Teamwork.
We had the idea that we should get together once and have some kind of, we'll interview each other, and that turned into a big Monday show. But the reason that I'm going this long in the story was to go from being comfortable to bringing people into our store with me behind the camera and Spoon being here in this seat. It forced me to be the one in this seat, and I don't know if it makes any sense to people watching, but I think it was a little bit easier to just go from being afraid to being on camera right to like be on camera live. Because if it's not going to work, I'll know within a few weeks. And if it does work, then I'm going to get over my fear. And I'm still not really comfortable, but I know it's a necessary evil. And at Ecamm, like I said, and I'm not just towing the company line, before I had Ecamm, it was all that plus how do you connect all this stuff? How does this work with that? How do I stop it from looking choppy? As soon as Ecamm came along to me, I mean, what I just cried about for 2 or 3 minutes, at least it takes all the tech out of it. And I can, find ways to make some things still look like they could be improved. But the meat of how this thing works, like look at you and I speaking in HD on an interview on YouTube. Like, who would ever dream of doing that without Ecamm? I wouldn't want that on anybody, you know.
Yeah, I know there is something fun about showing up and looking your best, where people are just like, wait, like how are you looking that great, or how does it, how are you pulling this off? How are you doing that? Is kind of a fun question to answer. Well, that's neat. And I think it's interesting too, because it's almost really similar to what we're seeing in the world of Amazon Live shopping or Amazon influencer program right now, where it's people really value the ability to not just see a photo of a product that they're considering. And I think especially with guitars, where it's a big investment, and it really is like a part of who a musician is being on stage.
Sure.
So being able to really give them kind of a full tour of what that experience looks like, of how that guitar looks and sounds, it goes beyond just a photo, and gives them, I'm sure, a feeling of confidence, when they finally make that buying decision, that they know exactly what they're getting, and they know, they feel like they probably know you a little bit better as well. There's a level of trust there that's building. So I think it was a smart move for you all. How often are you going live?
It's every Wednesday we go live with a show called Virtual Tour of our current inventory. So cool. I go live Mondays with Aaron Short, where he hosts a program and I'm the guest. So it's Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Thursdays, selfishly, I decided, and maybe not selfishly, but there's a selfish component to it. Instead of Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, like buy this, and being icky, I go live with an employee from Martin Guitar. We take an hour and go into Song Circle. I'll play a song, he plays a song. You can request what you want, and there's no sales whatsoever involved. But the hope is that people that watch our YouTube and our Facebook, and it's staying, the opposite of out of sight, out of mind. Mm-hmm. And I have heard people call me up and say, listen, I saw your video about that one guitar. And I'll immediately say Wednesday, when I showed our inventory, no, that when you played Thursday with Clayton, that one song, I'm like, good, because
yeah,
what I don't want, I don't want to fall out of favor and people forget who we are, but I don't know how to stay. I'm not going to go live every day of the week, and if I did, I don't want to sell every day of the week. So we go live 3 times, but it's really only the Wednesday show is for sales technically.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's a huge commitment, being able to block off that amount of time and and be able to that focus, especially if you're doing like enough different inventory. Those can, I'm sure, get to be longer videos. So that's neat.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a question come through, or a comment come through. I wanted to share with you. We have Keely on. Hey, Keely. And she says she really likes your set and I totally agree. I think it's a really neat perspective that you have this like a lot of negative space, and all of the black behind you really pops, and it does look very different than a lot of other different live streamers or content creators that we see often. How did you kind of think through how you wanted it to look? What gear? How did you kind of plan out your studio space? What does that look like?
Well, thanks for the compliment, and I appreciate you taking the time to interact with the chat. If anyone else wants to jump in, this is a safe space, so please do. That's a good question, Katie, and it goes back to the days of when we were only doing video. We were trying to figure out how we can look, really honestly, how we can look like this room is bigger than it is, because it's not. And I often would joke that if I would take this camera and tilt it this much in any direction, you guys would go, what? Because it's a mess. This room, we're moving it to a new store. Instead of taking out a big loan, every time we have some cash flow, and there's no pandemic, and there's a contractor that shows up, we're moving. So if I have to do anything twice, it drives me crazy. So I'm not going to put any money into this room.
Yep.
That's not, audio related or taming some, like, that doesn't matter on camera. So the joke is, if you wanted to see behind the curtain by 2 inches in any direction, you'd be less impressed. But that speaks to why we want to be on camera today. You don't need to care what it looks like when the camera's not going to show it. So this room, we knew we had to do something. When I show you this, your eye goes to this.
Yep.
It goes off of me. I'm usually not here without this. Even when I'm on with Aaron on Monday, I'm talking.
You can hold it if you want. That's okay.
I feel like I have my binky now, right? So. Don't I look more relaxed now?
You do, yeah. So, you should keep that there. You look much better with your
with my clothes on, yeah. So we have the attitude we want to be able to make this pop. So as much as I'm hoping that the talking head does look vibrant against a really black, dark thing, that was the idea. So if we're going to do things where you want to get the people to know what this looks like, it really came from that attitude, disguising the fact that the room is small. And I'm terrible with dates, but back when we started doing this maybe 10 years ago, that was kind of in line. I wouldn't say common with every store, but more than a few stores had that look. And it's sort of, in my mind, right or wrong, you would see these thumbnails and these pictures. Oh, that's a music store. That's just sort of what that would make sense for. And of course, since then, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, and you guys are at fault for making me. I mean, I'll work from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 at night, and then I'll be home on that's not the part I mean. I'll be home on the iPad looking at Ecamm, like, look how gorgeous like the out of focus stuff looks, and Katie's lights in the back, and like a really nice purple wall. I shouldn't do that because it would detract, but I can't get that beautiful bokeh and interesting background because I really can't reveal, even to the point where I'm thinking now about bringing in a second camera, but certain angles that would show this guitar in a cooler perspective, they're going to show parts of the room that aren't flattering. So it's to answer your question, it was out of necessity. When we get into the new store, I'm going to do the same attitude, but have basically you could take the camera and anywhere you point it, it will be impressive looking. And sort of shame on me if that makes me treat how I work a lot differently, because then I'm going to, once your mind gets off the content and it's like, oh, if I would show this thing, that's less that you're thinking about why they're here. They want to know what this guitar sounds like, and it's a little bit of a trap too, but this was sort of out of necessity more than anything.
I love that. I think it's super important and great for everyone watching to hear, because and this is really like absolutely the goal of this series and of talking to different kinds of creators, is that I think we do get in this kind of habit of, and I'm super guilty of this right here, of like, what is everyone else doing? And we're kind of taking ideas from that person or that person. And, and all of our setups do end up looking similar, and, and we're like, oh, then that light's really cool. And you get into kind of this habit of buying things that you may not need, or, setting up at a space and kind of losing the goal of what you're trying to create, or your personality in the middle of all of it. And I think the difference of you like bringing the guitar up, like even before you said that comment, immediately you see the guitar, like the guitar just pops against that black background. So that's super smart, and also amazing that kind of simple setup not only benefits and highlights your product, but is also like a convenient way for you to be able to make use of a small space as you're kind of thinking things through. I think that's really neat and a great, like, super great example, because I think often we're so sort of distracted by everything that we could get, or all the different things that we, could have, that I think sometimes a really simple setup or a really simple background can be much stronger than a lot of the crazy things that you may see here in my space in the background.
But I'm being real. I want those things, so don't take this live stream to teach you that I'm the one with willpower. I don't have it either. I just can't. I can't make sense. If I did this next week and I tried to show off the back wall, I mean, I even have I don't know, I forget what they're called. They're those shades that are like an accordion.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I have them right behind me, so the light doesn't fall on the back wall and show the back wall. Like I've probably invested 60 or 70 hours of my life keeping that back wall dark, to the point where I have, like, if I walk back, I'm going to hit my head on two shades. It gets out of hand too. But
all right, we're going to make you send us some photos. I don't want you to mess too much with it while we're live, but we'll have to get some photos that we can circulate for everyone to see afterwards about how big that space is, and kind of see the perspective on it. Because I think, it looks great on camera, and figuring out like how you get it to look that way is an important thing that everyone always wants to know. So I was just scrolling through. We have a bunch of people jumping on. Welcome. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have. Scrolling through to make sure I'm not missing anything here.
While you're reading, I'll tell you that this studio is 10 by 12, if somebody wanted to know.
Yeah, that was actually a next question. And some people were asking about, or Paul was actually saying that your lighting is fantastic. So what is your setup? What camera are you using? What lighting? How do you have it set up?
Thank you very much. I have they're not newer or Dasney, but they're the other. There were 3 brands that were going around this time last year on lights. They are, if they're not exactly Dasney or newer, they're those rectangular panels that are, maybe about this big. I didn't do my homework enough, and it's that long since I bought them that I don't remember, but that they are that. So let's just call them Dasneys. I have the Canon M50 Mark I. Mm-hmm. Gasp! I know. I'm not. I'm
look
probably
great,
the only
so
Ecammer. Well, thank you, but let me know in the chat. Does anyone else use manual focus on Ecamm Live? I might be the only one in the basement here doing this, but it's the M50 Mark I with the 22 millimeter lens, the pancake lens they call it, and it's just on the wall exactly where it needs to be. I have a 2015. I'm gonna feel like a bum now that when I name these things, but
no, this is great.
iMac.
This is great.
Well, a 2015 iMac with 24 gigs of RAM. I have the Canon M50, the Elgato Cam Link is the capture card. I have an old unused flat screen TV right in front of me on top, below the camera, where I can read viewers' comments when it's my show. Or right now I'm looking at the interview window and my scenes.
Yep.
And then to my left on the iMac itself is the Ecamm preview. The Canon M50 is going through EOS utility to keep the battery from turning off after a half an hour. And I have that on the iMac as well, showing me the shutter speed and the exposure. Right between my preview monitor and the EOS utility, I'm looking at the Ecamm sound levels to make sure, most importantly, that there are levels there. And then when I get to look at it closer, to make sure they're in the yellow. And sometimes I'll have it open. Right now I have camera effects on, but I'll just play around with gamma once in a while, but I don't often need that. And the audio that I'm speaking through is coming through 2 microphones. I have a shotgun right out of the frame. It's a Rode NTG2. And then in frame I have a Rode NT5. There I have those going in stereo into a 2009 iMac.
There you
You guys remember 2009?
Good year.
I have a Behringer, debatable. I have a Behringer mixer that I control with that machine completely off of the new iMac, and that sends the audio into the iMac with USB. So I have the audio is taken care of, offloaded, and it's brought in where I can look at this other iMac, and it's a mixer scene screen. And that lets me bring the audio in. And most importantly, and we'll probably touch on the fact that we're in interview mode now with musicians mode, it lets me toggle with a foot switch from this healthy level of dialogue, where if I want to strum the guitar, this preset brings the volume a little bit down so I don't clip, and it adds a little bit of effects. And people out there that play guitar, there's also another preset that's a little bit louder than the strumming preset. So I have more or less 3 different volume levels with and without effects, so I can go back and forth from speaking to you and playing for you. And that, when I first tried to do that whole thing on the iMac from 2015, on a bad day there would be some stuttering, and that machine doesn't want to do that much work. So I offloaded that to another iMac that we just weren't using anymore for anything else. Once an iMac gets that old and can't be updated, we have the attitude, right or wrong, don't put that thing on the internet. It's not safe anymore. It's not, as the updates aren't in it, so please don't connect that with our computers, because there's just bad things can happen.
Yeah.
So I'm basically repurposing some things that for an entrepreneur and being able to own a music store, that's smart. But it makes it so hard to go home and tell your wife, who also works with you, we need another computer and another camera, because we don't. We're just that. It speaks to the power that Ecamm doesn't need. Like I don't know. I haven't jumped on the M1 craze, and I know a lot of you guys in the stream are probably quietly or loudly laughing at what I'm using. But you don't need the newest thing to make Ecamm work, and I'll be proof of that.
No, yeah, I think it's again just kind of we We've been talking a lot about gear, particularly because we're about to enter the like busy holiday season, and everyone's kind of thinking through like what they need to upgrade or what they might want to get a great deal about. But I do think that you're like a good example of we certainly have a lot of people that are using it in the way that works best for them, that are not, you know, they are small business owners or, you know, or entrepreneurs, and they're making the best of their investment. And you're right, it is working great for what you're doing, and so you don't necessarily need to get something new if it's working. I mean, you know, if you're looking great and it's doing what you need, that's awesome. I would love to talk a little bit about. Oh, I see Aaron on. Hey, Aaron. I would love to talk a little bit about how you structure and set up and approach and think about audio. You mentioned it a little bit there. I think this is a question a lot of our users have on, like, you know, getting the best possible audio. You're in a really interesting position because you have to be thinking about, you know, how you sound when you're just speaking versus how you sound when you're playing. You know, you have to have, you know, you said a foot switch because you're playing, so you can't be using a stream deck or pressing keys on your desktop or your computer. So how far away is the computer from you? What is that foot pedal that you're using? So you must have to do a lot of planning going into your streams, because you can't just like be like, hang on a second, I'm just going to stand up and run over to my computer to push a button. Right. How do you approach that? And do you have kind of a set group of scenes, or how are you kind of planning out that content?
Well, yeah, I do, and thanks for asking. This is stuff no one ever wants to hear, so it's probably, if I do 200 streams this year, this is the second time anybody will care about that. But I'm the same way. I'm looking for these other answers from other people, so thanks for including me. The audio took the longest, and it's not even a close chase. The video part is challenging, but getting the audio right, and I'm glad Aaron's here, because he's probably laughing at how much we would just make every effort to go from being able to speak to you without effects and it not sound like that. It doesn't make sense. We don't want to have this going on the whole time, and I don't want to miss this effect when I'm playing. So it took an awful long time to figure out how to get. I mean, the other way to do it is to have just buttons, and most musicians that want to go online probably already have the gear that would allow them to reach over. And the guy that I play with on Thursdays, Clayton, he reaches over and turns his effects off, and it's what he does, but that's all he really wants to change. My computer is just past arm's length. If I reach over here, I can certainly get to the keyboard. So I have everything except yesterday. I had my lunch on my desk right here. A big piece of tinfoil was just literally in the first 40 minutes of my show. It was in the way, but that's how close the desk is. So what I'll do, and that's in the garbage can that's right here. I can touch the wall on any side if I reach with this guitar and push it that way. So that everything that was, when you say how far away is the computer, nothing's very far away, but the computer is right out of reach. I do have a stream deck that I'm able to use on certain days, but not when I'm playing. So I found out over time that I wanted to be able to change my audio properties from loud and clear to quieter for strumming with some kind of a mixer. I was using a Bluetooth interface for a few months until I just got really tired of that. Wants to quit at 20 after 4 on a Wednesday when it worked every other day that week. And let me know in the chat if you've had Bluetooth misery too, and maybe that's not a reason to be scared of it forever, but I'll try something for 3 or 4 months, and if it's not reliable, I just won't go back to it.
Yeah, you need the reliability for sure.
Yeah, I had to find a MIDI foot switch. I forget this. I should have written this down. It's a brand that allows me to hardwire into the audio mixer to change from those scenes I just showed you with, and that allows the other computer to do all that stuff in the background. That was only half of the equation. Now, while we're doing all this, and I say we because Aaron helped me and I helped him, we would have a lot of long conversations, and he has a slightly different method of operation with what he does. He can use his hands and his stream deck more often than me. All during that didn't make that much of a difference because we had to be, in the early days, connecting. The video was on Ecamm, but it was a Skype audio. And when Ecamm finally got interested in doing what they called musicians mode now, or they would disable that garbly thing a lot of you guys in the stream might have it turned on so people can go online without headphones, even though Doc Rock tells you every day you shouldn't do that. Shout out to Doc. We needed to be able to play a guitar and it not sound like it's, you know, that warbly MP3 artifact stuff. So around the same time we've finally been figuring out these audio problems, Ecamm came out with an update and another one right after that allowed us to toggle that in the software. And when Aaron and I play on Monday, and of course when I'm doing my Wednesday show, there's no terrible degradation on the audio. You get to hear it loud and clear, because for me, I have no reason to be on camera whatsoever if it doesn't work that way. So yes, I'm happy we took the time to get it all nailed down. But had Ecamm not figured out how to let me show it to YouTube and show it to you, it'd be all for naught. So it was a good teamwork thing. And I remember Aaron and I were like, did they fix that already? We were crying on the forum on Tuesday or Wednesday, and Aaron's like, I think they did it. I'm like, no, it's only been 3 days, and you guys, for whatever reason, you jumped on it, and it was really exciting for us to. Once that happened, if we hadn't already been excited to accelerate how often we're going to go streaming, now it's like open road now. So it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic brought us a number of different musicians and performers that needed those kinds of audio solutions. So I'm happy to hear that it worked out quickly for you. You certainly were one of many voices being like, hey, we need help with this. We need this for this to work smoothly for us. So yeah, and it's a challenge. And I think as all different industries kind of get past that comfort level and they're doing it more often, and then it starts being like, then they start adding more things on, and with the different things that you're adding, inevitably at some point you come up across, an audio challenge or something that makes it a little bit difficult, and you have to kind of work your way through. So the other cool thing there is that you buddied up, which I'm a huge fan of. Like, I think if you can find someone else that you can test with and play with, or that's having a similar challenge or trying to work something through, it's so helpful to be able to do it in a group or with other people that you can test with, because doing it by yourself, especially with audio stuff, is really difficult. You're trying to like sound things out, and then you have to go back and see like, okay, did that sound okay? Okay, I need to go back through here. I think it's always easier to have someone to bounce that off with you.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people innocently watch our stream from 4 to 5 on a Wednesday, and they don't know it started at 2:30. It got fixed at 5:30. At 7:30, I came back to the store to change one more thing, and I mean, I'll literally do our Thursday stream, which is a lot of fun, from 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8, I try to catch up on like, all right, what went wrong, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I'm still trying to go into next Thursday being over the hurdles that really bother me, because you could agree with me, when you're doing something and it's going wrong online, it's like, oh my God, I can't fix it live. I need to like, now I want to stop the stream, everybody go home. I want it to look better, and
we're done.
Of course you can't do that. Yeah, that's it. So it's a lot of preparation, and I got on with Doc Rock a couple days ago for some keynote questions too, and I was mentioning to you a few moments ago that I was looking at a second camera, because I can't use one yet. I've sort of resorted to when I show these 4 guitars on Wednesday, I'll show you. I don't know if you want to see it now, but I can show you what I would typically do. I would say, okay, well, the next guitar we have to show you is the BR-143. So I would have these 2 pictures. Another reason we have this room set up, that there's a hanger right here, like right behind my shoulder, where I would hang these guitars for their photos. So that backdrop is doing photography duty too, not just video. I'll show these 2 guitars. I'll begin playing. I'll switch to my preset where you can hear my guitar with some effects. And I'll use the USB foot switch with the hotkeys in Ecamm to forward to the next scene, and I'm still here, and I'll use that button the whole time. I'll go to the next scene, which is a keynote video that's 10 seconds long, that is Ken Burns on the still picture, with still describing the guitar back here, and I'm still playing it. That should fade out to the next scene automatically, which is an Ecamm button. And then after I've played with fingerstyle, they call it, I might switch to you might want to hear what the guitar sounds like with a pick. I'm still in the, I'll switch from the fingerstyle preset to this with a pick preset. I still have some effects, but it's not going to be too loud when I was speaking to Katie. And during this scene, I'll use the USB foot switch hotkey in Ecamm to advance to the next scene. Interacting live, and I'm doing this back here, but instead of showing you a close-up of the guitar, I've got to show you a picture of a close-up of the guitar to sort of make up for the fact I can't show you a second camera angle. And I'm doing all that down on the floor with the USB switch that I forgot to get off my guitar preset. I'll step on the floor and go back to the vocal preset, which should be a little louder and cleaner, and I can do that, you know, throughout the whole program. So you asked me a few minutes ago how many scenes we have and how this whole thing works. There are probably 25 scenes in this show that are just in that order. I'll introduce the guitar. You'll see 2 pictures of it. The next scene would be just me. The next scene might be the close-up. Then it goes back to me. And it just goes linearly across the whole show. And all I really need to do is advance with the USB foot switch on the floor that does the hotkey next scene. And it'll eventually terminate into a halftime where we show you a commercial, and then when the show is over, it advances to that's the end, and that lets me show an outro page. Thanks for watching. Some music from our friend Spoon Phillips, and when that scene is over, it is set to end broadcast. So I get it teed up at the very beginning with an intro, and I just wheel through each scene with the foot switch. If I ever had to, I do have all the scenes staring me in the face on this big screen, and I have a mouse here as a backup in case anything ever goes wrong. And that's really just how we do it. I do have it all planned out, but what it makes me do is if I want to go live at 4 o'clock, I've got to be here at 2:30, and I've got to take those pictures, put them into Keynote, put those videos into Ecamm, rearrange and retitle everything, do the Loria Petrucci, test it first, because that sucks when you know, how many times have I done that, Katie? And like scene 9, I'm muted. I didn't remember to unmute. You know, that whole all the snafu stuff. But that's the nuts and bolts of what I'll do every Wednesday. And thank God, after it'll be episode 82 next week, it's finally becoming sort of like comfortable now. It's not this how do I do it anymore. It is to stay on top of things to make sure you don't forget that scene that's muted. But it's not this. I've got to learn it every Wednesday. Thank God. You know.
Wow. Yeah. It's such an interesting use case because it's not like if you're doing a show where you would have generally the same, like setting up this, I'm like, okay, I have a number of different kind of backgrounds, and, I know that it's going to be just, an intro and then just me and then the two of us together. And I have those scenes generally built out, and I might just be doing something as simple as changing names, or seeing if there's, a different kind of music I want to add. But generally it's pretty much the same every single time. Whereas even if you did all of the prep and you have like your logo and everything all set, you still have to change out the guitars and you still have all of that added work because it's a different product every time, even though it's the same show every time. You're sort of in that fun live selling space, even though you're not live Amazon live selling or YouTube live selling.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's tricky. Wow. So it's it's a good hour and a half. Yeah, that's something I wouldn't have thought about. And I don't want to cry because I'm very lucky, to have the ability. But the one thing, I painted myself into a terrible corner. So anybody watching, try not to do this. It's life lessons.
a live show of our current inventory. I can't do it Monday for Wednesday. I can't start Sunday and bring it on Wednesday. Those guitars might sell. I have to sort of wait till it's almost time. Because same with the podcast that I do on Tuesdays. I'm showing you something that we have. Like, Laura's like, go down on the weekend and do like 5 of them. Just put them in. You just can't get ahead of if I was a live tour of me talking, or I really am jealous of those people that can sit at a talking headshot and go online and bring content that's not dependent on current inventory, because you could just show up. I mean, maybe that's the wrong attitude, but it's a little bit of I'm 82 episodes into this thing that just could have been easier, but that's why people are coming. So,
Well, 82 is impressive, and especially having to do kind of all those different extra steps. But seems like you've really mastered kind of all of the different buttons and scenes and things. There's a lot going on in what you are doing for a live show. So congratulations. I inevitably would have failed horribly at that for the first few and been like, oh, I'm on mute. Oh, I'm not on musicians mode. Wait, I gotta hang on. I pressed the wrong button. Are you getting like comments coming in? Are you engaging with, because I know you have your screen in front of you. Do you have one of your buttons that puts a comment on screen? Are you taking any kind of questions, or are you just you're just live in front of them and you're playing and you follow up with that later?
Oh, I'm taking all the questions. I do see the chat from the interview mode. I'm not bringing anything on screen for this show.
Yeah.
But I am reading, because somebody might say, they'll discuss, what's the neck on that one, and they'll ask me a question while I have it in my hand. That's very interactive, and the way I do it, that's at least a little bit easier. The first 4 guitars are pre-selected because I had to take all the pictures. Yeah. But then we take a 5-minute break, and I tell people, what do you want to see in the second half? I'll go upstairs and get it. Yeah. So the first half, the last 5 minutes of the first half goes from nice, polite chat to, I want to see an M36, and I want to see this, and 7 people ask for 4 guitars, and the first 4 people get what they want. So it is interactive, and I do watch the chat, and I do vocally reply to it, but I don't bring them on the screen. When I'm on Thursdays with Clayton, it's a lot different, because I play my song, and I appreciate that. Was it 3.9.1 or 3.9 something? There's been
a few point releases in quick succession.
Well, so. I'm not nerdy enough to know which version gave me this, but now I can bring the latest comment onto the screen. Mm-hmm. My foot switch on the floor is 3 switches. So the first one is next, and the second is the applause. And after playing a song on third, I don't ask for applause.
I love that.
Product showcase, but I think that's the one I have here. It might be the other switch. And then the fourth one is latest comment. So on when I'm playing my song on Thursday, somebody says that song sounds terrible. I don't hit anything. When they say that song sounds great, I bring that on screen.
Applause.
But when it's Clayton's turn, I have 4 minutes to sit with the Stream Deck and watch the chat, and we have all sorts of things that pop up in the right-hand corner of the screen. We have a ton of the usual suspects of sound clips from like Step Brothers and all the good movies. So I can play a lot of that stuff on Thursday because I have the Stream Deck. But what I'll do is like maybe this. I'm not sure if you'll see it because it's going to be covered up.
Yeah, let me go.
So we might be talking about it. I think it's a really interesting guitar, but that cat, he's not like that kind of stuff. We do a lot of that on Thursdays. So.
Oh, that's so fun! I love all the like GIFs and memes and fun things that you can pull in to make it interactive. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're almost at the hour mark, but I definitely want you to play for us. So hopefully you can play us out here, unless there's anything else that you want to add or anything that you think you want to share that might be helpful for people watching at home.
Only if anyone in the chat has a question that should have been answered that I haven't been looking at the chat, and I forgot to hit that bubble window.
Let me double check. I haven't seen any come through. Just a lot of people, excited to see kind of a different use case. Keely says that she has the same problem too. She's reacting to controversies that have popped up on social media, and they always happen on the weekend, blow up on Monday, and then she has until Wednesday to prepare. We feel your pain.
See?
Just lots of agreement. And everyone watching, we're going to follow up. We're going to be turning these videos into blog posts, so we'll make sure that we'll grab some extra pictures and the specific gear and setup that you have, Maury, so we can share that with anyone that might be trying to replicate a similar kind of setup to you. That would be helpful.
Cool.
But excited for you to play us out, and thank you so much for spending time with us today and being our first family member to hit the screen with us. I'm excited to meet a whole bunch of people. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm flattered. It's been my pleasure, and I look forward to seeing more episodes as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you.